So looking at our contract record, the first thing they'll be presented with are the contract details, and within it, the contract information, the overview rather, for key information, important dates, and financials. These will be rolled up. Additionally, client and prime info. Note that similarly to when we were creating a contract record, you will have the ability to determine which fields should be required based on the contract status to, again, guide your end users to ensure that specific pieces of data are captured as the contract progresses. Going from left to right on our list of subtabs here, the first thing that we see is our contract clauses. So again, these would have been applied to the contract coming from the ICI ingestion. You'll be able to see all FAR, DFAR, and any other clauses that have been included here. You also have the opportunity to add additional clauses from here in the primary and secondary clause type section as well. Searching by keyword to find the additional clause you wish to add. Clauses that have already been applied to this contract record, choosing this pencil icon to edit, you'll have the opportunity to change the flowdown status if appropriate. By default, the system will identify what the flowdown status is, flowing down to subcontracts or task orders or both. But you do, at least by default, have the option to override. Beneath this, you'll see the list of mandatory clauses. So during implementation, you'll have the opportunity to determine which clauses will be mandatory for your contracts. And then on the individual contract level, determine which of those require additional review. So you can see here this list of the undesignated, whether or not these need review or not. We can go ahead and mark these yes or no to create follow-up actions for whomever is managing this. For clarity's sake, how you can access the clause library, up in the top left corner, what's referred to as the app launcher, you can simply type in the word clause in order to select our clauses. Clicking on an individual clause is where you'll have the opportunity to change the mandatory status. Coming back to our contract record, beneath the mandatory clauses section, you'll then see any contract-specific clauses. So these would be clauses that were ingested via ICI that do not match any existing clauses in your library, which is why you have the button here to convert to a standard clause to be referenced at any point later on. Referencing our tabs again, the next thing we see is periods of performance. So the cost, fee, price, value, and funding, those will be rolled up as you start to keep track of mods and exercise CLINs and SLINs for each of the appropriate and connected periods. Under the CLIN and SLIN tab here, this is where again everything that was ingested via ICI will be displayed, although you do also have the option to add a new CLIN manually if you so choose. As you start to receive mods, you'll have the opportunity to enter these mods here once this contract is in execute and administer in order to exercise additional CLINs and SLINs, and then add funding to those. So this purse icon is where we can come to add funding as appropriate. On our limitation of funds tab, you'll be able to track the information to help you identify the burn rate and determine the projections for if and when you will reach that threshold, and then generate a limitation of funds letter. This can be done for the contract as a whole or on individual CLINs or SLINs. By clicking SLINs, this is where you'll see you have the opportunity to set up that same information to keep track of limitation of funds on the individual CLIN level. Next, we have our CDRLs. CDRLs can be imported, or the requirements here can be imported utilizing ICI as well. So if I choose to upload a CDRL, I'm prompted to select the appropriate document and upload. Again, this is utilizing ICI to extract the information and the requirements. Usually it takes 2 to 5 minutes in order to process. So you'll see me pull up on screen an example of something that I've preloaded for demonstration purposes. So here's an example of that email. Processing is now complete. Click the link to take further actions. And here we'll see those line items show up with all the appropriate information. Scrolling back up, the Reports tab will display some reports to help you keep track of key metrics and measures of success. Keep in mind the reports displayed on this tab are configurable. So if there's a current set of reports you are utilizing to keep track of your contract performance, those can be mirrored. So there's a continuity of how you're assessing performance as of today. Similarly, under the Contract Actuals tab, once we begin tracking data on performance of this contract and what's actually been executed here, you'll be able to see some visual graphics for various metrics displayed here as well. The SharePoint tab, again, given that you have your SharePoint instance connected, how this operates is that a SharePoint folder will be created in your SharePoint site dedicated for this contract record. Within that folder, and you can reference the structure over here on the left-hand side, there will be a subfolder structure to mirror however you are currently categorizing or grouping the documents and files related to each contract. This ensures if there are stakeholders within your organization or at partner organizations that need access to the SharePoint folder to add or retrieve files, whomever is working within TechnoMile has direct access to also add or retrieve files and easily collaborate with the extended team. Now, moving up a little ways, we see the related list quick links. So the related lists are child records that are generated off of this contract record. As I alluded to earlier, one of those being agreements. Additionally, customer contacts, so at the agency or the prime contract is coming from, who are our main contacts and the important stakeholders we need to have recorded here. You can keep track of partners that you were working with as well, so either subs or other partners. Labor categories, those that will be employed to deliver on this contract, can be recorded here. Additionally, the labor category rates for those labor categories can be recorded. This can also be connected with your ERP to ensure that there's accurate recording of labor expenditure on delivery of this. Wage determinations can also be connected here. Deliverables, these are similar to task assignments, although deliverables are usually assigned to notify people that they have a briefing or some type of report or otherwise a deliverable, something to share that they're responsible for. Organizational conflict of interests can be, a review of OCIs can be initiated here. These can also be initiated at the opportunity level, so pre-award, that they follow a similar process similar to what you saw in agreement management, where you state the internal stakeholder responsible for reviewing the potential conflict of interest and then gathering their approval that any conflict has been mitigated. There's a list of files which if you are utilizing SharePoint or something similar, may be duplicative. However, you do always have the option to save any files or attachments to the contract record itself. Your internal point of contacts, so who within your organization are the ones that are responsible for managing this contract record. Subcontracts, you'll see in just a moment how these can be generated so that you'll be able to issue subcontracts off of this. And going along with that, small business plans can be created. So if you are obliged to allocate a certain percentage or dollar amount to subcontractors of a specific socioeconomic class, that can be tracked here as well. Contract history is essentially an audit trail of each interaction with the contract record, showing which user took which action to update which data field and at what time. History, similarly to that, as this progresses through the contract stages and an approval is required to move through those stages, you'll see that recorded here. Task orders can be kept track of here as well. Now, before we generate the subcontract, I want to bring your attention to the control bar where we have the button to generate a contract brief. What this will do is extract the data we've saved on the contract record and place it onto a document template that you're using for briefings. So you'll see an example of what our briefing document looks like. However, rest assured, if there's a different template that you are utilizing for communicating it internally or perhaps to partners, or the customer, the current state of a given contract, this will save you some time and, again, automatically extracting the information that you've saved here to place it onto a document template. Just an example. Keep in mind any data field that we have tracked on this record can be extracted and placed onto this automatically. So we've got some of our contract details up at the top, and we have the clauses that have been applied to this. And if we scroll down a little bit further, we'll see the CLINs and SLINs here as well. However, again, keep in mind this automatically generated contract brief is configurable, so you are not beholden to use one that looks like what you're seeing here.